Hello everyone. Today I wanted to go over one of my new favorite weapons as of patch 1.10, the Qatar. In this video, I'm going to go over its moveset and some combos, some of its strengths and weaknesses, and then finally I'll finish it off by showing you guys some arena duels and invasions. Without any further ado, let's get right into it. Now, before I jump right into some of the true combos, pseudo combos, and roll catch options with this weapon, this is the build that I'm rocking in the video. It's 54th strength, but the Qatar performs decently well on all the physical builds, so strength, dex, and quality, getting a B scaling in strength with the heavy infusion, an EB scaling for the keen infusion, and BB for quality, usually with strength and dex coming out ahead of quality in terms of damage, depending on the build stats. Starting off with the bread and butter of this weapon really, we have the running R2 into R2 combo. Now this is a true combo, so they will not be able to roll out of this. No need to block cancel out of the running R2, just simply hit R2 after a running R2. The next runner up to that attack is your running R1. This one's good for just out of neutral and chasing somebody down. It's a very quick recovery, but not quite enough stun in order to combo. Therefore, you want to go for roll catches out of the running R1. A good option for a roll catch out of the running R1 is a impaling thrust Ash of War or a block cancelled R2. So really those are the main two attacks with this weapon, your running R2 and your running R1. And basically all the other combos are sort of variations and things to do as mix-ups out of that either running R1 or running R2. And you can sort of chain things out of those, creating an even longer combo. The great thing about this weapon is just the immense amount of forward momentum you have with it, and its fast attacks makes it really aggressive, and you're able to chase down your opponent pretty easily and apply a lot of pressure. So showing off some of these extended, longer combos, we have things such as running R2 into R2 true combo, or you can also do a mix-up of running R2 into flaming strike. So you'll take a quick step for the flaming strike after the running R2, and that will roll catch people. And if they roll away, you want to go ahead and use a fan dagger, because one of the downsides of this weapon, unlike something like the Knight Rider's Glaive, which has a lot of range, it's a very short fist weapon. So a lot of times if the opponent rolls backwards, directly backwards from you, you actually won't be able to reach them with the follow-up R2 of the flaming strike. You'll be out of range. So if your opponent does roll away, a good option is to throw a fan dagger for a headshot in hopes to continue the combo. If the headshot does land, then you can combo it into another running R2 and continue the combo all over again. And if your opponent keeps panic rolling, I suppose you could chain this combo infinitely, or at least until your stamina runs out. Now, in order to get this headshot with the fan dagger and continue it into the running R2 combo, it does require a bit of timing. If you hit them too early with the headshot, then it won't combo into the running R2. But even if it doesn't, you'll often still roll catch them with the R2. In my opinion, this fan dagger play is pretty safe because they're in hit stun when you're throwing the fan dagger, and even if you miss the headshot, if they attack, the recovery on the fan dagger animation is so quick that you'll definitely be able to roll out of the way. So why not give yourself the opportunity to potentially extend your combo and get a bunch more damage. On the other hand, if your opponent chooses to roll in, you can press L2 for a second flaming strike to roll catch them, and then use the follow-up R2. Another good go-to roll catch option that I like with this weapon is the running R1 into impaling thrust. This will perfectly catch their roll if they panic roll out of your running R1. And since the running R1 is so strong on this weapon, this is definitely one of my most used roll catches. So those are the main combos that I like to talk about, but I'm going to let a few more clips play out of some more complex sort of options that all really just involve carrying your forward momentum to keep the pressure up on your opponent. That's a lot of what this weapon is about, is continually applying pressure and getting them with roll catches. So another example of a more complex combo would be something like running R1 into impaling thrust, into backstep R1, just to keep that pressure up, even though it might not roll catch them, and then another impaling thrust, or into a running R2. You have a lot of options here. Before we go into some arena and invasion examples, I'd like to give some recommendations for Ashes of War on this weapon. The 5 Ashes of War which I think work best on this weapon are Flaming Strike, Impaling Thrust, RKR, Storm Stomp, and Endure. Speaking of those Ashes of War, I'd like to share a bug that I found that happens to help us with this specific weapon. Without any infusion or Ash of War applied, you can see that the Qatar's default Ash of War is Impaling Thrust. However, when we go to our Ashes of War here, and try to apply Impaling Thrust so we can actually infuse our weapon, since I'm on a strength build, I would want to infuse it heavy, you can see that there's actually no Impaling Thrust Ash of War. It doesn't show up here. and therefore we can't apply the default Ash of War to this weapon. As far as I'm aware, this is the only weapon that this happens to. I don't know of any other weapons that their default Ash of War can't actually be applied to them, and therefore you can't infuse it with that Ash of War. I'm not sure if this bug only arose recently, or if it's been in the game the entire time. I haven't really used the Qatar much up until this point, so I wouldn't know. But if anybody happens to remember if you could put Impaling Thrust on the Qatar previously, please let me know in the comments section below. But regardless, I have a solution that will allow us to infuse this weapon while using Impaling Thrust. So in order to get Impaling Thrust on your Qatar while it's infused, you're going to want to have 2 of them in your inventory. One of which you can see I have Flaming Strike on, and the other one I have RKR. An important thing to note here is that they're both heavy infused, so whichever infusion you're doing this with, just make sure they're both the same. Once you have that set up, you simply equip one of your Qatars, and then go ahead and rest at the site of grace. Now, go to your sort chest, and navigate over to your weapons, and place that other Qatar into your storage box. Now, you'll see as soon as I put it back into my inventory, it immediately equips it. However, when we back out, you can see that it actually has the default Ash of War. So it automatically equipped our weapon, the one that we just took out of our inventory box, and we now have Impaling Thrust on the Qatar. However, if I go to my inventory here, you can see it actually still shows Royal Knight's Resolve on the weapon. It knows it has RKR, but we're still able to use Impaling Thrust while it's heavy infused. Now you can toggle this weapon and it'll stay, continuing this bug. However, if you actually swap off of the weapon and swap back, now it has the correct Ash of War. Now, I haven't gone through every single Ash of War to determine exactly every single one that works, but there are others. It doesn't just have to be RKR. So here you can see I have a Keen one with Endure, and then the other one has Storm Stomp. If I put the Storm Stomp back in the box and take it out, it works just like so. Not to mention that this Ash of War bug also works with other weapons. However, Qatar is a unique instance, like I said, as it is the only weapon that I know of where the default Ash of War actually can't be put on it and infused. So for example, you could do it with the Lance here, but there isn't really much point, as you can already apply the Charge Forth default Ash of War to the Lance normally. Moving on to the arena matches, starting it off, I'm AFK at the beginning of this one, so my opponent quickly takes that time to knock off my shield talisman using some fan daggers there, but I hop into my inventory and use my Blessed Dew talisman a couple times to try to get that shield talisman back. Unfortunately, he throws a few more and knocks it off immediately again. So I thought I'd do some voiceovers for each of these arena matches to try to give you guys some insight into what I'm thinking during them, and also give some extra tips and tricks which I haven't talked about yet. Here, my opponent gets a couple hits off, and I'm really close to bleeding, so I use a bolus. Luckily, they backed off there. That was definitely the time that they wanted to keep up the pressure and not let me get that for free. Right here, I end up panic rolling, unfortunately, and it ends up costing me a hit. I was just in an awkward situation there that I wanted to get out of. But I get a couple hits after that with the running R2 into R2 true combo, and then I back off again and cure my bleed. At this point, we've sort of reset back to neutral, but you see me do something really important right there. And I'll talk about it again later on in one of the other arena clips, but I'm holding block in order to store my running attack. So I outspaced his Storm Stomp, and then when I thought he might do a follow-up attack or roll away, I tried to react to it by pressing R1 with that stored running attack. If you hold sprint and block at the same time and then stop moving, you can store a running attack infinitely. Or for a little bit less telegraphed option, you can just tap block and store it for a short amount of time. At this point, I'm trying to be as aggressive as I can, doing some back-to-back running attacks just to try to finish them off, because I know they're about one hit off. Possibly two, because they are in blue and red branch feather range. Right there, you saw me try to do another stored running attack to catch their roll on reaction, but I just reacted a little bit too late, so I missed. At this point, we're both pretty low, so I'm playing it safe. I throw a fan dagger to try to keep them aggressive and whittle them down a little bit more, but then something really unfortunate happens here. I see them go to throw a frost pot, so I try to punish it, but my input gets dropped, and I end up eating an attack to the face. So I quickly throw on both the red and blue branches, and I finish him off quickly as he's trying to spam me with fan daggers. On to the next match now. We are both using fist weapons, my opponent using the Cestus, and I'm using Qatar. Opening it up, I get a quick burst of damage here with a nice little combo and roll catch into the Impaling Thrust. And then unfortunately I try to roll that bleed there. I knew I didn't have time to get a bolus off, so I tried to time the roll, but I didn't quite manage to time it correctly. At this point in the match, I've taken a bit more damage than I would like, so I use this time to back up, reset to neutral, and figure out how I can best exploit my opponent's weaknesses. This is where it comes back to that stored running attack. A lot of times you can outspace an attack and whiff punish it with that stored running attack on reaction to their roll. Lots of people will immediately panic roll out if they realize they whiff an attack, because they expect the other person to try to space and punish immediately during the recovery of their attack. But sometimes going for the roll catch like this can actually be more effective and safe, because less tight spacing is required due to the distance that you can cover with this running attack. It is often a good idea to go for the roll catch when your opponent has a weapon with quick recovery, or there's a bit of latency between you. On to the next match, and this is a great opportunity for me to talk about another one of the Qatar's strengths, and that is the amount of stamina damage it does to opponents who are guarding. Seeing that my opponent is using a shield, I take this time to swap to the Hammer Talisman for extra stamina damage against guarding opponents, and I also swap to a Qatar that has RKR on it. I do a running R2 and burrito them because their guard actually breaks on the first swing of my R2, and just like that, the match is over. In this case, I probably didn't even need to use RKR because the running R2 on the Qatar already does a lot of stamina damage. This next match here ends up being another short and sweet one. I do a little spin, and then I see my opponent go to use an item, so I try to punish him, but for some reason they were just using a blue flask. It was likely a misclick, but I keep up my aggression since they start attacking. Then I strafe their halberd attack since they are 1 dead of hit stun, and get a backstab to finish them off. Here I have one mid-match example, just because I want to show how quickly you can burst somebody's HP down with this weapon. It's crazy how such a fast fist weapon still has such crazy burst damage potential. After that little combo, I attempt a backstab, and then I finish them off by storing a running attack and use it on reaction to their attack. Moving on, in this next match, I'm facing off against a player using a greatsword. Hyper armor setups and setups like power stance straight swords are probably the matchups you'll struggle the most with. That being said, they're not unwinnable, and power stance straight swords are arguably the best setup in the game right now, so not surprising that you're going to have a hard time there. I get a quick roll catch combo off at the start, and I'm able to punish their flaming strike since they use it when they're out of range. It's often safe to do the first L2 part of it, but the follow-up R2 is where they made the mistake, and you can see I make them pay big time for it when they do it again. After that match, I actually end up matching with the same person again, and I think it's quite interesting to show the rematch to see how they change their playstyle. Right here, they come out pretty aggressive with some running attacks, and I punish one of them with a backstab. On the wake up, I tried to use an impaling thrust to roll catch them, but it didn't quite land. Then you see them use flaming strike a couple times, but they don't do the R2 follow-up, which makes it harder for me to punish it. Then you see me do another stored running attack to roll catch them here, which puts our health at about even. At this point, I try to bait out some more attacks by circling in and out to punish them with running attacks of my own. Now they're one hit away and my impaling thrust narrowly misses them. They answer back with a flaming strike. And then I'm also on low HP, so I quickly swap to the red and blue branch feathers, space their attack, and finish them off with another running R1. In this next match, you can see I'm facing another pretty strong setup, a sleep halberd setup. Now this thing is pretty crazy because on the right build, and if you don't have the right gear, this thing can sleep you in about 2 hits. So seeing this, I quickly swap my armor and talisman to something with higher focus to make sure I don't get slept so quickly. Even with that, I knew this fight still wasn't going to be easy, as this setup is still pretty difficult to fight. Once I've made some space, I take this time to use a sleep bolus as my sleep is already built up to around halfway. I get a little careless here and end up taking some hits, but I'm trying to be aggressive to avoid the sleep halberd chase down. Basically, I'm trying to avoid them being able to chase me down with running attacks as I'm on the defensive. So instead, I know I have an aggressive weapon, and I want to keep up the pressure to prevent them from being able to bundle their weapon again. Unfortunately, as you can see right there, they ended up getting off another sleep bundle, but luckily I'm able to get enough distance so I don't get into that halberd chase down. And I really had no other choice but to run away there and back off, since I had taken so much damage. And I used that time to put on the blue feather talisman, which saved my life just on that hit. Tanking that hit kept me alive to get a nice strafe backstab and finish them off with an impaling thrust to catch their second roll. On to the final arena match for this video. I'm facing off against another person using power stance straight swords. Nothing really happens here at the start, both of us just feeling each other out, so I'm going to speed this up for time's sake. At this point, I end up taking a hit, so I swap off my Crimson Amber Medallion to my Blessed Dew Talisman, capping my health at a little lower point so I can get a chance to use my Ritual Shield Talisman again. Eating a few more hits here, my opponent still has the health advantage. I land a nice running attack here and try to follow it up with an Impaling Thrust, but my opponent does not panic roll. Right here, I almost get a really nice combo. I throw out an Impaling Thrust, then do a backstep to space their attack, and almost catch them with another Impaling Thrust. That probably could have ended the fight right there. I have a pretty good health advantage at this point, so I try to throw out a few stored running attacks, just to try to catch them off guard, but I do it one too many times here and they completely read me. So you can see it's something that's best used in moderation and also in the correct circumstances. That was not one of them. Here I take a hit and I try to eat a bolus, but I did not make enough space, so I end up getting punished for it. But what I do next is pretty important. I swap to both the red and blue branch feathers, even though I know my HP isn't low enough to take advantage of their effects yet. You'll see why this is important in a moment. I get hit by my opponent's L1, but their second straight sword hit does significantly less damage because I'm now in blue tearstone range. That reduced damage was likely the difference between them being able to finish me off with some throwing knives and me winning the fight. Alrighty, kicking off our first invasion here. It looks like we got a cave invasion. Okay, these can always be interesting. Sometimes if the cave is too small it can be kind of ridiculous, but this one's not too bad. Looks like they've killed some of the PvE here, but not up until the point where I previously spawned in, and there they are. I'll use my physic. And I'm not sure if it was 2. Oh, it's 3. Okay, alright. Not able to get hit off there, and oh, it looks like we lost our buff. That's unfortunate. The other two are maybe not coming straight for me. Be a little cautious here. That thing's gonna spray this way, I'm pretty sure. Yep. Oh, and the host got hit by it. That's why we be careful. Alright. Looks like I can get a quick combo off here, perhaps. Ooh. Wow. There goes to show you how the burst damage of Qatar can be super helpful. Super powerful. I'm gonna back off though. Take this time to sort of reset. Nearly bursted the host's HP there just in one go. Would have made for a fairly quick invasion. Cure this bleed real quick. Make sure I don't get blood. See if I can burst him real quick. Ooh. Wasn't quite able to secure the finish there. Hopefully we can here. There we are. Separated from his teammates. Down he goes. GG's, sir. Alright. Oh, he's hiding right around the corner. Should look at that. Ouch. Gotta be careful of that Moonveil in that tight situation there. Here's a good example of where I might want to quickly switch off of the Qatar to take advantage of a different weapon. Oh, I didn't actually mean to fall down, but I'm totally fine with him following me. Oh, are they gonna get hit? Do they know? Oh, they got out of the way in time. And fall back to the PvE just a little bit here. And we're gonna heal up again. Putting on that armor and ring just to make sure we have the maximum healing potential. So I walk right into that hit. That wasn't so smart. He was able to get away just far enough to use the Ash of War on me again. The Moonveil. Okay, we were able to roll that bleed luckily. Gotta be careful here. For that range there. A roll. Oh wow, that still hit me. Surprising. Okay. I'm thinking that I'm gonna fall back even more here. just to get a reset and use this barrier of gold. Not quite as good as it once used to be, but still probably worth my time to put on here. Use that to keep them at bay. I think they went this way, it seems. Actually going to put on this talisman as well. Ooh, and there goes the host. No bothering with the phantom after all. GG's. Jumping straight into our next invasion here. We got a capital outskirts invasion. Interesting spot, especially at this level that I'm at. Don't get to invade here too often. I must say that I really enjoy the invasions inside the capital, but outside the capital isn't bad either. Mixing things up a little. Here we are, team of 2 it looks like. I think I'll put on my region. Use Beast of Vitality there. And see if we can pressure Phantom. Alright, he's rolling all that. Rivers of Blood. Interesting. Okay, I think I'll switch back up. Well, actually, we can see if we can parry that here. I do have quick access to a parry tool. Kind of just slapped this other one with RKR in here into my inventory. Just to test it out. Ooh, okay, punish that with a backstab. Very nice. Guess no more parrying after all, but... Now I think I'll switch to the Flaming Strike one. RKR isn't going to really help me here. If I had Impaling Thrust, that would work, but... Actually, in this situation, you might want to use a Qatar with Endure. Unfortunately, I don't have one in my inventory. I took that one out. But here we are with Flaming Strike, and that works pretty well. GG's. Here we are in the third and final invasion. Looks like we got an invasion right before the boss. Alright. Gonna run away. Back up just a second here. Try to get on my physic. Prepare that way. Alright. Dual spears. Power stance spears. A little bit of a rough one. And he's got the Dung Eater summon too. Oh, as well as Malenia.
Huh?
Alright, this is a rough situation, it looks like. Not a lot of places to run. Ouch, and that still hit me. So, see if we can take care of the NPCs by sleep potting them. It's probably my best chance. Oh, there we are. He is slept. Okay. Continued running there for a bit and I was kind of confused. Wow. Malenia there's tough as well. Throwing on my light roll armor here as quick as I can. Back up again, get another heal off. That still hurt, very much so. There we are. Able to get a heal unpunished. That's good. Swap back to the main fashion here. Darn. Yeah, that was the situation there. Wasn't a good idea to try to go for the follow-up R2 of Flaming Strike. Just because I probably was not going to reach. If anything, maybe could have gone for the Fan Dagger. Let's see if we can sleep Malenia here. Get some FP back. Make heal up again. Fortunately, got poise broken by that. Looks like the Dung Eater is woken up as well. Use my last 2 heals here. And we'll see what I can manage. Okay. try to sleep pot here. Song Eater might not. Oh, that looks promising. Nice. Or not. Is he sleeping? I honestly cannot tell. Okay. Nice, able to get the flaming streak off. Wow, there we are. Able to chase him down. This just goes to show you some of the benefits of this weapon. Or the main benefit, really. Being able to be super aggressive. Just burst people. Continually pressuring them with the running attacks. And I was able to finish him off. That was otherwise a very tough invasion, I must say. Having those NPCs there is quite the cheese. You can see he definitely wasn't planning to fight the boss. He was actually just ganking there. Good one to end it on though, I think, and I think that shows off the power of the Qatar pretty well. And I appreciate you all watching the video. Until next time, I will see you all later. Peace.